Here we go. Anybody have the quadratic formula remembered? Okay, so we're going to practice this again. We're going to sing again. We're going to do what we got to do. You got to be rock solid with this. We will practice this again tomorrow and really subsequent days as well. We'll practice this quite a bit. Okay, so here we go. The quadratic formula is based on standard form of a quadratic. Does anybody remember what standard form of a quadratic is? It involves A's, B's, and C's, and X's. Anybody remember? Now you're getting into the quadratic formula. I'm just looking for what the standard form of a quadratic is. And maybe this is something we need to talk about. So standard form is very important. It's ax squared. Anybody keep going from there? Darn it. Okay.
Plus BC.
Plus bx plus c equals 0. Remember doing this?
Yeah.
We've done this over the course of the last month and a half. We've done this almost every day. So ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. This is standard form. So can I give you some examples of things that are not in standard form? So this is not. Don't write this down, just watch. 3x squared plus 8x equals 11. Why is that not in standard form? Well, it kind of is. Say again? It doesn't equal 0, Sebastian. It doesn't equal 0. So what could I do to get this into standard form? So subtract it over. So 3x squared plus 8x minus 11 now equals
0.
Bless you. Now that's in standard form. Let's do another one. Because if you don't know what standard form is, this is not going to go well. How about this? 18x minus 22 equals negative 7x squared. Not in standard form, right? Why is it not in standard form? Yeah, you got to have everything on the same side in descending order equals 0. So what could I do to this one to get this into standard form?
The 7x squared.
Add it over. So this would be positive 7x squared plus 18x minus 22 equals 0. Notice how the variables are in descending order. Everything's on the same side equals 0. Let's do a little bit more. How about this one? 9 minus 3x squared equals 4x. Not in standard form, right? Why is it not in standard form? Doesn't equal 0, and definitely not in descending order. What could I do to get this into standard form?
3x squared minus 4x.
Which term should I move? Which one would you suggest? 4x. Okay, we could move the 4x. It's only moving 1 instead of 2. You could debate that that's the right way to go. So if I subtracted 4x and came over here, it would be 9 minus 3x squared minus 4x equals 0. Is that in standard form? Why is it not in standard form? It's not in descending order. It is equal to 0, so that's good, but it's not in descending order. So I'm just going to rearrange. So it'd be negative 3x squared minus 4x plus 9 equals 0. That's now in standard form. Does that make sense? So everything we do, whether it be factoring or the quadratic formula, everything we do with quadratics, really it's important that it be in standard form. Everything on the same side, descending order equals 0. Okay? So if I go back to what I have written up there in black, that is standard form. And if I do have that standard form, I can use the quadratic formula to help me solve. So to solve, use let's try that again. The quadratic formula, the QF, quadratic formula. And here it is. X equals negative b plus or minus the square root. Remember this? Of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Yeah, that's right. Okay. So that's quadratic formula. You can sing the song, the Pop Goes the Weasel version. There's all different versions all over YouTube. If you don't like the Pop Goes the Weasel song, don't just say, I don't like the Pop Goes the Weasel song. Find one that you like and sing that one. That makes sense? And there's all these little sayings. There once was a negative boy who was confused about going to the radical party or the radical church. Do you see it? There's all these little sayings. I mean, there's almost a limitless number of cutesy ways for you to remember this. I'm just going to be really pragmatic about it. We just got to get to a place where we remember it. Pretty simple. Okay, once you have this, basically it's a matter of plug in and PEMDAS, right? Plug it in PEMDAS and you're in very good shape from there. Okay, so what I thought we would do here is do two examples, both of them calculator active. So we'll use some decimal approximations in the end. I thought we could do the first one together, and then you could try the second one by yourselves. And we'll do the same kind of thing tomorrow. So here we go. Take a look at number 1. Number 1 says solve using the quadratic formula, and we're going to approximate our answers, our final solutions to the nearest tenth. Okay, so step 1. Caroline, is that equation written in standard form?
No.
Why not?
Oh, wait. No.
Why not?
Because the -2 is on the other side.
If we could handle that -2, maybe we would be in standard form. What do you suggest we do?
Move the 2 over.
Using multiplication, addition, subtraction, division? Addition, yes. So if I add the 2 over, I get 5x squared minus 7x plus 2 equals 0. So do you see how this is now in standard form? Okay. To me, the next most logical thing to do is to identify the A, B, and C. So A is what?
5.
That's right, A is 5. How about the B?
-7.
And C is?
2.
So can you see how if you're not in standard form, this is going to get all messed up?
Yeah.
Things are going to be just basically the wrong A, B, and C. And if the formula is what it is, then the A and the B and the C have to be the correct things. Okay, so let's practice. Let's sing it. It told us to use the quadratic formula. So I like Pop Goes the Weasel, so that's what we're going to do, at least here in class. You ready? Here we go. 1, 2, 3. X equals negative B of B squared minus 4AC all over 2A. Now, Bree, you're almost into dangerous territory where you get to solo this. You need to sing along. So it's either sing along or solo. We're going to do it again. I need to see you at least mouthing the words.
Let's go over.
Here we go. No solo yet. She's going to get another chance here. All together. Ready? 1, 2, 3, go. X equals negative B plus or minus the square root of B squared minus 4AC all over 2A. Now, Bree, that was... No, I was watching. She started to. Now, Bray, it's a little strange that you were staring at Bree the entire time.
I would gladly sing it.
Me too. It's good. Okay, we're going to sing it again. We're going to get this in your head so much that when it comes time for the quiz, you're going to just be humming along involuntarily. All right, ready? 1, 2, 3, go. X equals negative B square root of B squared minus 4AC all over 2A. Mason, I didn't hear anything from you that time. He's busily working on this question. Let's do it one more time. Repetition helps. Hey, can we travel to the future really quick? So let's travel to the future. Let's travel to Thursday afternoon when you're working on your concept quiz on the quadratic formula, and you get to this place and you say to yourself, "Oh man, I forgot. Is it negative B plus? Is it B squared minus 4? Yeah, you're unsure of what it is, right? And you raise your hand and you say, "Mr. Anderson, can you remind me?" I'm going to say, "Sorry, I'm not going to." Okay? So the effort you put in now, the effort you put in tomorrow and on your homeworks and such will hopefully virtually guarantee that you won't forget the quadratic formula. Hopefully you can remember it and do well with it, but hopefully you won't forget it, right? That's the first step. Right, ready? We're going to do one more time, hopefully just one more time. Ready? 1, 2, 3, go. X equals negative B plus or minus the square root b minus 4ac over 2. That was Sasha on the solo on the video there. She kind of got quiet for a second there. Okay, that's enough for now. We'll practice that again in a little bit. Okay, so the idea here, hey, and if you want to hum the thing while you're doing your quiz, that's fine. You just can't say the words out loud if that helps you. So hopefully you say x equals negative b plus minus a squared b squared minus 4ac all over 2a, right? So there you go. There's the quadratic formula. Once you have this down, it's a question of dropping the numbers incorrectly and using PEMDAS. So here we go. Do you remember from way back, let's be honest, this was back in August, I suggested that if you're going to evaluate something that you replace all the variables with empty parentheses. Remember this? So here we go. I'm going to write x equals negative, there's my b, plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Make sense?
So, would the negative b be a positive?
We'll get there. Yeah, it'll turn into one. Sure, because we're about to do the opposite of a negative. Hey, are y'all with me? I so much suggest this. Not just because it makes me happy, because it makes me happy because it makes people get things right. Okay? So here we go. Now I'm going to drop everything in where it goes. I know that my b is negative 7, so that's going to go there and there. I know that my a is 5, so that's going to go there and there. And of course, my c is 2, so that's going there. Does this make sense?
Yes, sir.
So you want to get the plug-in correct. Obviously, you don't have a chance if you don't get that part correct. Mason, question?
Nothing. I realized I did wrong.
Okay, fair enough. So if I keep going here, I'm going to follow my order of operations. So I'm going to do all that work inside that radical first. But I think I could take Chase's suggestion and say, isn't the opposite of negative 7 really just 7? Positive 7? So I'll say positive 7 plus or minus the square root. Now what is negative 7 inside the parentheses squared?
49.
Positive, right? So positive 49 minus, what's 4 times 5 times 2? No, 4 times 5 times 2 is 40, but we are subtracting it, right? So it'll be minus 40. And then, of course, 2 times 5 is 10. I could do that down there pretty easily. And I'm to a much better place, right? I'm not done with all the work in the radical yet, but I'm really close. 49 minus 40, of course, is 9.
Negative.
No,
Not negative.
it's positive 9. So I end up with this. So I'm going to just kind of keep going here because what's the square root of 9? Okay, this is working out really nicely. So x equals 7 plus or minus 3 over 10. So I can now actually finish this one quite easily. I'm going to split it up. What's 7 plus 3?
10.
So 7 plus 3 over 10 would give me 10 over 10. And what's 10 over 10? That's just 1, right? And then the other one, when I split this up, would be 7 minus 3 over 10. Also, that'd be negative, or that'd be positive 4, right? So 4 over 10 reduces to 2/5. Those are my two answers right there. My two solutions right there and there. So with the quadratic formula, basically 3 ideas here, 3 concepts. Number 1, you got to know the quadratic formula. If you don't have a prayer. Once you have the quadratic formula down, it's a matter of dropping the correct A, B, and C in the correct places. And then what follows is PEMDAS. And you've actually done this before. You just didn't know that it was the quadratic formula. Okay. So I think now's a great opportunity for you guys to try number 2. If you need to sing the quadratic formula song, sing it. If you don't worry about it. Whatever. Try number 2, please. Ready? So before you get too far down the road, I want to make sure we're in standard form. What did you guys see as the easiest way to, because it's not in standard form. What did you see as an easy way, Mason?
Adding 4x squared to this.
I think that makes a lot of sense. Adding 4x squared. So if you think about, and if you haven't done this, this way, I would encourage you to go back and do so. If I just added this over to the right side, I would have 0 equals positive 4x squared minus 10x minus 3. Now everything is on the same side. Descending order equals 0, right? All the terms on one side. Descending order equals 0. Sebastian.
Could I just, like, negative 4x to the second plus 10x plus 3?
You sure can. So what you're proposing is taking the two terms on the right and adding them over to the left side. That'll work just fine. We should get the exact same answers. This is my personal tendency, is I tend to favor the situation in which the A is positive.
Okay.
In my experience, that makes the next steps easier, but you can absolutely make that work. Sure can. Okay, so you're all in standard form, one way or the other. Hopefully you have that quadratic formula written down and ready to be plugged into. You have what, negative 10? Yeah, you can turn that into a positive 10. Of course. As always, making a video of this right now, so if you're working on your homework later on and you wanted to hear me and Sasha sing along the quadratic formula song, you could always do that. Come on, Sasha. Make sure that you don't have the amazing shrinking fraction bar.
Okay.
Notice how it's completely under everything here, and now all of a sudden it's not.
Okay.
It should continue to extend under the 10.
All right. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Am I doing this right? Like, should I do the factor tree for the 52?
So, great question. So if it said simplify your answer,
Mhm.
then yes.
Okay.
But it says actually approximate
All right.
to the nearest 10th.
So I should just do the square root of 52. Even.
Yeah, but I think there's something else going on here. Okay, so negative 10 squared would give you 100. Now this is the second term here is often a problem area for a lot of folks, and I think it might have
Yeah.
gotten you to, yeah, okay, so your A is 4, or sorry, 4A, and then C, yeah, okay, so check this out. This minus sign,
Mhm.
I'm going to say is that same minus sign right there, right?
Oh, so it should be addition. As I
Right, because it's
Yeah.
4 times 4 is 16 times negative 3 is negative 48, so
Yeah.
it should be minus negative 48, so it should be plus 48.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so 148 makes sense. So Caroline, this one says approximate your answers to the nearest 10th. So what I would do here is I would use my calculator and I would do 10 plus the square root of 148. Get an answer and then divide that by 8. Round that to the nearest 10th. So 2.8. And then do 10 minus. Like in your calculator, I would do 10 minus the square root of 148. Does that make sense with how we're splitting up that plus or minus? Get an answer for that, divide by 8. Don't forget to divide by 8. So yeah, negative 0.3 approximately. Yeah, those would be your two solutions. Sasha, did you get the same thing or something different?
I got 0.1.
Let's look at your steps here. You have 10. Oh, so interesting. Why did you get 37 right here?
Because I factored that.
So, okay, I see what you did. So it should be, if you're gonna do it that way, I see what you did. Okay, so according to your factor tree, which I think looks good, this would be 2 square root of 37.
Yeah.
So it should be square root of 37 for one, not just 37. But then also, do you notice how you took the 2? It should be 2 root 37. And this is really 10 plus or minus 2 root 37. Yeah, you pulled it out and you multiplied it by something that was being added. Yeah. So your instincts were okay with the whole simplifying with the factor tree thing, but then you took a little bit too far. Hey guys, let's see how you did. Let's see how you're doing. So based on this, I would say that A is 4, B is negative 10, C is negative 3. Now, if you're like Sebastian, maybe some others, you might have all opposites there. Like every sign might be different. But if you put it in the standard form like I did, you should have the A, B, C. Questions on A, B, or C? Okay. So then we got the quadratic formula. X equals negative B plus or minus the square root of B squared minus 4AC all over 2A. So I'm not kidding when I say I really think you should write it like that. I'm not kidding. So now, once you have this, we're going to drop in the appropriate A, B, and C values. So B is negative 10 and negative 10. A is 4, so that goes there and there. C is negative 3, so that goes there. What do you think so far? Good? Okay. So now, I'm going to follow my PEMDAS, my order of operations. Negative 10 is really positive 10. And then I've got a bunch of work to do inside the radical. So what's negative 10 inside parentheses squared?
100.
It's positive 100, that's right. Now this next term is one where if people make mistakes, this is often where they do. This minus sign, I'm going to highlight it in purple. This minus sign is just coming on down. Still there, right? And then I'm going to multiply those 3 numbers together. What's 4 times 4? Times negative 3. So I'm going to put minus, it's already there, negative 48. Does that make sense? Do you see why people would make mistakes there? They just sort of take those minus signs and think of them as just like one minus sign, but it's really minus a negative. I want to be careful there. 2 times 4, of course, is 8. My final step before I get to the calculator perhaps would be this. 10 plus or minus the square root of 148 divided by 8. Notice how this in the instruction said approximate your answers to the nearest tenth. That's a hint that you're going to be approximating with your calculators. So in your calculators, what I would do is, listen, I would do 10 plus the square root of 148, get an answer for that, and divide by 8. I'm just going to split this up. So I'll say x equals 10 plus the square root of 148 divided by 8. And Caroline, we decided that that was what, 2 point something? No.
18.5.
22 point.
148 divided by 8?
No.
Wait, so
That's not what it says. It says
square root of.
you got to divide by 8,
Oh,
right? So it's the square root of 140. 2.8? Whoops.
yeah, 2 point.
I got 1.25.
Okay. What can I do here? Hey, let's do this. Hey, guys. Hey.
10 divided by 8 is
Hey,
1.25.
Mason, please just listen. I think we can help you. Hey, guys, check this out. Are you okay with that split up there? Please, this last step is very, very doable. You just need to know how to do it. You okay with that? What I'm going to do, I'm going to write this up on the board so we can remember, and then I'm going to switch screens. I'm going to show you how you could do this in your calculator without messing this up. Okay? So check this out. calculator. Okay, here we go. So Mason, like what you were kind of squawking about, you're like, oh man, 148 divided by 8. It's not what it is. It's really, it involves the square root. And it's even a lot more than that. Okay, so come on, calculator, please just work. Why are you not working? Oh, I so want this to work. Okay, there we go. Okay, so check this out. Please, eyes on screen. So if you have a TI-84, like what you see up there, here's what you can do. Parentheses, 10 plus the square root of 148, close parentheses, divided by 8. Do you see how I have grouped the 10 plus the square root of 148?
Yes.
With the parentheses? You really, if you're going to do it all in one step, you have to group. Because otherwise it's going to divide, it's going to follow order of operations and divide the wrong way. So I think our first answer, if I hit enter here, is 2.77, right? 2.8, we round to the nearest 10th. Then if I want the other answer, so Caroline, I think we did get it right, would be 10 minus the square root of 148, close the parentheses, divided by 8. So it just, watch the button that turns red. See it?
With the, because I tried on my calculator, but with the divided, whatever, the thing over 148.
Square root.
Square root, it just kept up.
Oh, just arrow right.
Oh,
Arrow right will get you out of the radical. So the other answer would be, yeah, negative 0.3. So Caroline, we did. We got it right. Yay.
oh.
Just arrow right. That'll get you out from underneath the radical. Negative 0.3. Negative 0.3 and positive 2.8 would be your two solutions here, right? So what's on screen would be it. Now, Mason and Isa. Isa, you could probably do parentheses on that calculator. If you don't have, you could still do parentheses on those calculators. But if you didn't want to do it, here's what you could do. Check it out.
I can't.
You can still do this. Watch this. Mason, you could do this. Square root of 148
I don't have a square root.
plus 8. Get that number and then divide that by 8.
I don't have a square root.
Or it was 10. I put the wrong number in. There we go. Okay, so that's how you finish with the calculator. You get those two answers, we're in good shape. All okay? Okay. So your tests, and Ellie, you're not really included in this yet.